Today we're talking about my lens lineup for the Panasonic GH5. So let's do this. What's up, YouTube? Today we're talking about my lens lineup for the GH5. I did this video for the A7 III a couple months ago and you guys seem to be into it, so I thought it'd be really fun to do the same thing for the GH5. And that way, if you're shopping for a new lens for the GH5 or a micro four thirds camera, this will give you some idea of what I'm using and why I'm using it to kind of help you along your journey in finding the right lens for you. So I'm gonna start off by saying that none of these are zooms, and I'm a little bit freaking out that I don't own a good zoom lens for the GH5, but I do like a good prime, and so all of these are primes, and most of them, all but one, are all manual lenses. And on top of that, none of these for the most part have been reviewed. So as we're talking about these lenses, I'm not gonna go into a full review because I will be making individual videos for these lenses and give you my full-on pros and cons for those lenses. So with that being said, let's start with the first lens, which is more on the telephoto end, and that is the Rokinon 85mm T1.5. If you've watched any of my videos before, you know I love Rokinon lenses, but I love Rokinon's Cine lineup as well. Being an 85mm, this lens is my telephoto lens right now. So with the GH5 and micro four thirds being a 2x crop, this is the equivalent on a full frame system of 170mm. So right now it's my telephoto lens. And so if I need a tighter shot, if I need a little more reach, this is a lens that I'm using. And honestly, it is a great telephoto option. For a telephoto lens, this is actually really small. So I love it. So that's the first one, my short telephoto 85mm T1.5 from Rokinon. And this is one I will be doing a review on, so stay tuned. My next lens I have done a review for, and that is the Helios 442. If you're not familiar with this lens, it is a vintage lens. It's probably one of the more sought after vintage lenses if you're looking for a cinematic look to your shot. There are characteristics about this lens that you cannot replicate with modern lenses. One being that the bokeh is swirled. You really can't manufacture that, and so it's really kind of a nice characteristic for this lens. I found that it really creates good separation between your subject and the background, as well as that swirling bokeh just creates for a really interesting cinematic shot. And one thing to consider when you're moving to a new system and you're trying to save money, consider looking at vintage lenses. Most likely there is a vintage lens option for what you need. Maybe it's a 24mm, maybe it's a 50mm, whatever it may be. Check out vintage lenses. And also, this is where I want to get your feedback. I have considered for some time doing a vintage lens series. Let me know if you're into that, and if enough people are into it, we'll make it happen. My next lens is the only Lumix branded lens that I have, and it's the Lumix 25mm f1.7. This lens is basically Panasonic's nifty 50 because at 25mm with that 2x crop, it is a 50mm equivalent. I picked this one up when I bought my GH5 because I knew I needed something at that 50mm range. If you're not familiar, 50mm is closest to the human eye, so a lot of people like using 50mm because it's just a very pleasant look. It's a very sought after focal length. And so having this 50mm equivalent is really nice. And with the 1.7 aperture, it does create some good background blur or bokeh. And I'm just super impressed with how light this is and how compact it is. Nifty 50s are usually pretty small, but this one is extra small. And that's one thing I love about micro four thirds is for the most part, their lenses are really small. And that's one reason why I'm okay with using mostly primes right now is because I can take a couple of these out and it's probably the weight of what I'm used to with some zoom lenses. So the last couple lenses I'm really excited on, and that's actually why I started with the telephoto end and left these for last. My next lens is the Rokinon 12mm T2.2, and I'm not holding it because I'm using it right now. This is one that I got for all of my YouTube videos. It is a 24mm equivalent, and that is honestly probably one of my favorite focal lengths. I said it in my Rokinon 24mm review that focal length is such a great focal length because it's a little bit wide, but it's not too wide, and so it's just really versatile. And so I love this lens. Funny story, I've actually owned this lens or a version of this lens 3 times. This is the 3rd time I've owned this lens. Now owning it this time, I've actually got the Cine version, which is why it's T2.2, but I've previously owned the photo version, which is an f2. When I owned it before, I owned it for my Sony system. So with the Sony system being a 1.5 times crop rather than a 2 times crop, it was a little bit wider than this lens is right now. And at the time, young me was like, I don't know what to do with wide angle lenses. It intimidates me. I'm not sure what's happening. If I only knew how good wide angle filming really is and what you can do with wide angle shots, I wouldn't have said that, but I sold it twice because of that. So I've always loved this lens, but for whatever reason, I've had to sell it previously. The first time was because I was like, I'm not using this focal length, it's way too wide. The second time was because I owned the A6300 and actually sold that entire system and got rid of it then. And so running into it now and running into the Cine version just makes my heart happy. Like I said, I use this for all of my YouTube filming. I use it when I need a little bit more of a wider shot, but maybe not ultra wide. If you're looking at a lens for micro four thirds or even APS-C, if you're looking for a good wide angle lens, right here. Such a good lens. And that leads me to my last lens, and currently the one I'm really excited about, and that is the SLR Magic 8mm f4. I literally just got this in 2 days ago at time of filming, 2 days ago. I haven't done a ton of filming with this yet. I'm gonna take it out later today to do some filming and B-roll for this video. That being said, I have done a little bit. I did a time lapse earlier this week for an Amazon review. This lens excites me so much. If you saw my 7 Artisans 35mm f1.2 video, one thing that I said is a lot of the lenses I have right now are focal lengths that I need just for utilitarian reasons for YouTube or just like in general. So they're not ones that really spark my creativity. And so I wasn't super excited about a lot of them, even though I just talked up the Rokinon. But again, it's one of those focal lengths that I need. It's not one that's like sparking new content from me. This one is allowing me to do that. And the reason I pulled the trigger on this lens is for a couple reasons. One is the fact that at 7.5 or 8mm, it is really hard to find those lenses without them being fisheye lenses. Even if you search on Google for 7.5mm lenses, non-fisheye, for some reason, because I have the word fisheye in there, it's like, hey, here's all the fisheye lenses. No, that's not what I'm trying to do. It was a pain in the butt to try to find non-fisheye ultra wide angle lenses. And there's really only 2 that I saw that were worth considering. And that is the Laowa 7.5 f2 and then this lens. Now the Laowa is $500, and trust me, I am super interested in that lens, but this lens is $150, so this one was more in my budget. So having something that's budget friendly after I just got done talking about being out of camera debt and really excited about it, not having to spend a ton of money on a good ultra wide angle lens was just something that really excited me. The other thing to note is just how weird this thing looks. Like, it's just weird looking, right? Now, given I do have a 52 to 67mm step up ring here with a UV filter and a lens cap, so it's a little more exaggerated, but still, like, it's just a weird shape. It's really interesting, and I'm really excited to have this. And from what I've seen so far, really impressed with the image that it produces, especially for filmmaking. Maybe not the sharpest thing for photographers, but for filmmakers, sweet spot. You're really weird looking. So that's it. Those are the lenses that I'm using. That's why I'm using them. If you're curious about any of these lenses and you have additional questions about any of these lenses, let me know in the comments below. If you're interested in buying any of these lenses and you want to help support the channel, I'll be leaving some affiliate links below. They are affiliate links, so that will give me a little bit of a commission when you use those links. So thank you. But that's it for me. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a like. That helps this video succeed on this platform that is YouTube with all of its algorithms and chaos. And so if you're digging the overall content from the channel, consider subscribing. If you're interested in winning the 7 Artisans 35mm f1.2, that contest is still going on. So check out that video, see what you need to do to enter to win that contest. And that is for a Sony E-mount system, so it's not for micro four thirds. So make sure you check that out if you are a Sony user, even though you're in a GH5 video, but just in case, maybe you have both. Cover all bases. And as always, thank you for joining. Go and find your journey. Go embrace life. I'll see you here next time. Peace. At time of filming, it is Valentine's Day. At time of posting, it will be not Valentine's Day. I realized going into that sentence, I don't know where I was going with it. All that to say, I hope you guys had a great Valentine's Day and spent some time with your loved ones, spent some time with your significant others, and I hope everyone's heart is just so full of love. I'm taking my wife out tonight for a couple of drinks after the kiddo goes to bed, and for Valentine's, I'm gonna go hang out at my daughter's, and for Valentine's, I'm gonna go, and for Valentine's, why am I saying Valentine's? It's not Valentine's. Ugh. And for Valentine's, I'm going, and for Valentine's, I'm done. And for Valentine's, I'm going to my daughter's daycare. That's what I was trying to say at least 50 times. It's exaggeration, but still, going to my daughter's daycare, we're gonna hang out with her. I love father-daughter times, and so I'm ready. Let's do this.